Today, we're digging into something so fundamental to our lives that we barely even think to question it: the family. But, behind that one simple word is a pretty intense 50-year debate over what a family actually is and what it's for. So let's get into it. So let's just start with that. A really simple question. What is a family? Seriously, what's the first image that pops into your head? For most all of us, the answer feels, well, obvious. It's about parents and kids, love, a home. It's kind of the basic building block of our lives, right? But that's where it gets interesting. Because for sociologists, that same simple question has been at the heart of a huge, decades-long debate. The whole idea of family has been built up, completely torn down, and then totally reimagined. And this right here, this is basically our roadmap. We're going to travel from the post-war era, when there was this one super clear blueprint for the family. Then we'll hit the explosive critiques in the 70s, and finally land in the modern era, where that original blueprint got remixed into something completely new. Okay, so let's jump in. Our story starts back in the mid-20th century. Back then, there was a very clear, really powerful idea about what the family was for. This was known as the functionalist view. So, in 1949, a sociologist named George Murdoch did something pretty ambitious. He studied 250 different societies all across the world and came to this massive conclusion that one specific kind of family, the nuclear family, so a married couple and their kids, was a universal human constant. He wasn't just saying it was common, he believed it was absolutely essential. And why was it so essential? Well, Murdoch argued it performed four critical functions that no society could live without. It provided a stable outlet for sex, it made the next generation, it handled the economics, and it was the main place where kids learned how to be members of society. It was just a neat, tidy, and super effective blueprint. And then another sociologist, Talcott Parsons, came along and added another layer to this. He kind of saw the family as a well-oiled machine. And for it to run smoothly, it needed specialized parts. So the man had the instrumental role. He was the breadwinner, the provider. The woman had the expressive role. She was the nurturer, the emotional glue. The idea was that together, they created this perfectly balanced, stable unit. Now, that blueprint of the perfect family looked fantastic on paper. But by the 1970s, a whole new generation of thinkers, we call them the conflict theorists, they started pointing out some pretty serious cracks in that foundation. First up, you had the Marxist critique. Lawrence Saretsky argued that the nuclear family wasn't some natural, universal thing at all. Nope. He saw it as a structure that was perfectly designed to prop up capitalism. It created this little private bubble, a safe haven where workers could go to escape their jobs, recharge their batteries, and then, head right back out to be exploited again. And then came the feminist critique, and this was a total game changer. Anne Oakley's 1974 study wasn't some abstract theory. She actually went out and interviewed 40 housewives. And what she found was that this so-called expressive role that Parsons talked about was, for a lot of these women, a source of intense boredom, isolation, and inequality. Housework wasn't some fulfilling natural instinct. It was often just thankless, oppressive labor. But the critique started to go even deeper. It began to reveal that for way too many people, the family wasn't a safe haven at all. In fact, it could be a place of real danger. The work that Dobash and Dobash did in 1979 was just groundbreaking. They showed the world the widespread, hidden reality of domestic violence. And they argued it wasn't just random acts of anger. They connected it directly to patriarchy, to that power structure where the husband's authority was seen as absolute. The very roles that the functionalists thought were stabilizing society were in reality helping to enable violence. So by the time we get to the 1990s, after all these powerful critiques, that old blueprint was basically shattered. The world was a different place, and sociologists had a brand new job to try and describe the complex, messy, and really diverse reality of the modern family. Sociologist Anthony Giddens put forward this idea that we've moved on from relationships based on duty, marrying for money or social status, to what he called the pure relationship. This new kind of relationship is based entirely on choice and emotional connection. And here's the kicker. It only lasts as long as it continues to be fulfilling for both people involved. At the exact same time, Ulrich Beck was saying we now live in what he called a risk society. All the old certainties like having a job for life or living in a stable community, they've kind of faded away. Instead of worrying about natural disasters, our biggest anxieties are human-made. Things like job insecurity, financial markets crashing, or climate change. In a world like that, the old, rigid family structures just can't offer the same kind of protection they used to. And that is the key connection right there. In a world that's all about individual choice and constant, unpredictable risk, that rigid, one-size-fits-all family blueprint from the 1950s, it just doesn't cut it anymore. Families have had to become way more adaptable, fluid, and diverse just to navigate the modern world. And this brings us to Judith Stacy and her work on what she called the postmodern family. After studying all kinds of different families in Silicon Valley, she basically declared that the idea of a single, normal family is officially dead. Instead, people are creatively and resiliently building families that actually fit their lives. Single-parent families, same-sex parent families, blended families, you name it. For her, this diversity wasn't a sign that the family was breaking down, but that it was being reinvented. So, after this whole trip through a half-century of intense debates, what's the big takeaway? Where does all this leave our understanding of what a family is? Let's do a quick recap of the three major viewpoints we've covered. Okay, so first you had the functionalists. They saw the family as the stable, universal thing with essential jobs to do for society. Then, the conflict theorists came along and pulled back the curtain, showing how it could also be a place of inequality, power struggles, and even oppression. And finally, you have the postmodern thinkers, who describe the family we see all around us today, a diverse, fluid, and adaptable creation built on individual choice and intimacy. And all of this leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to think about. The blueprint was drawn, it was challenged, and it's been remixed. So as our world continues to change at lightning speed, what do you think the family blueprint of the future is going to look like? Thanks for digging into all of this with me today.